The Bulldozer Legacy, a Montana rancher's war against a rogue HOA. 5 years ago, if you'd asked me what could threaten our family's land, I'd have said wildfires or drought. Never a homeowners association with a vendetta. I'm Tom Harlan, a 52-year-old rancher on 60 acres of Montana pine and gravel, land my family has held since the Ford administration. The private road to our home, a 1.3-mile stretch of hard-packed dirt, was carved out by my grandfather, Henry Harlan, in 1979 with a Caterpillar bulldozer and sheer grit. That road our lifeline. Our legacy became the heart of a battle that turned neighbors into enemies and tested the limits of justice. This is the story of how a power-hungry HOA crossed the wrong family, and how Henry's bulldozer delivered a lesson they'd never forget. Our land lies in western Montana, where the air smells of sap and the deer outnumber people 10 to 1. Henry's road, wide enough for a truck and tough enough for snowmelt, snakes from the county highway through hills and woods to our doorstep. For decades, we maintained it ourselves, no public funds, no easements, just Harlan's sweat and pride. The county records backed us up, private, surveyed, ours. For 30 years, no one cared. Then came Pineview Estates. A year ago, developers turned the neighboring parcel into a cookie-cutter subdivision, rows of pastel homes with picket fences and a shiny HOA to match. At first, their construction crews used our road as a shortcut. Then came realtors, followed by residents in SUVs and Teslas, treating our trail like a public freeway. I counted 40 cars one Friday, leaving trash in the ditches and ruts in the mud. Kids hung out of windows, shouting like it was a carnival ride. They shaved 20 minutes off their commute by cutting through our land instead of using their own paved entrance. I put up signs, private road, no access. Even added, smile, you're on camera, for emphasis. No effect. They sped up. I tried talking to drivers, politely asking them to stick to their road. They'd nod, then drive through the next day. One woman smiled and said, "Your road's just so pretty." Frustrated, I installed a steel gate with a keypad lock. Only me, Henry, and a few trusted ranchers had the code. 2 days later, I found it smashed open, twisted like foil. Tire tracks showed heavy equipment had been used. A note zip-tied to the post read, "This is a public road. Your grandfather understood sharing. You don't, Mike." Mike? They didn't even know my name. Fury simmered as I read that note. Henry had warned me about people like this, folks who think their wants trump the law. I didn't know who'd written it, but I suspected the HOA's president, Susan Marshall, was behind it. I replaced the gate with thicker steel, added a trail cam, and bolted a laminated property map to the post. 3 days later, a text from a neighbor rancher, "Come quick," sent me racing down the road. At the Pineview boundary, I stopped dead. A steel fence, 8 feet tall, blocked our road. Concrete posts, welded bars, motion lights, and a brass sign. Property of Pineview Estates HOA. No trespassing. Cameras watch from above. It was a prison wall on my land. I called the sheriff. Deputy Jake Carter, who'd handled a cattle theft for us years back, took one look and whistled. "Civil matter," he said, shaking his head. "They're claiming it's a public easement." Susan Marshall called me yesterday, said their lawyers have maps proving it's shared. I showed him our 1979 road permit and GPS surveys. "It's never been public," I snapped. Jake sighed. "Get a lawyer, Tom. This is above my pay grade." That night, Pineview's Facebook group gloated, posting photos of their fence with captions like "Safety First" and "Harlan Road Secured." A flyer appeared in local mailboxes, signed by Susan, declaring our road community access only and threatening penalties for unauthorized passage. I called Henry. At 78, he's a retired Army Corps engineer with a voice like gravel and a temper to match. He listened quietly, then said, "I'm coming at sunrise." The next morning, I sat on the porch, coffee in hand, feeling like a stranger on my own land. At 6:15, a diesel roar broke the silence. Henry rolled out of the barn on his ancient Caterpillar D5, a yellow beast he'd kept running for decades. He wore a faded jacket, a cracked hard hat, and a cigar in his teeth, driving like a man on a mission. I climbed onto the side rail. "You sure?" I shouted. He shrugged. "They built a wall on Harlan land. Time to remind them who we are." The dozer chewed gravel as we approached the fence. Henry didn't hesitate. The blade dropped, and the first hit rang like a gunshot. Steel buckled, concrete shattered, Sparks flew. 3 passes reduced the fence to scrap. A camera dangled like a broken toy. Henry backed up, parked, and hammered a wooden sign into the rubble. Your rules aren't the law. Deputies arrived, lights flashing. Jake looked at the wreckage, then Henry. Clearing debris off my road, Henry said coolly. Jake checked our maps and nodded. Looks like your land. Just don't do it again. Henry lit his cigar. No promises. Susan didn't back down. 2 days later, a process server handed me a lawsuit from Pineview's HOA, demanding $250,000 for destruction of property and emotional distress. Then came armed security guards patrolling their boundary, stopping our ranchers and demanding IDs. They built a new barrier not on our road, but close enough to feel like a siege. Worse, Susan contacted my construction clients, sending them doctored photos of the dozer incident and calling me a violent landowner. By Friday, I'd lost 3 major contracts. A trash bag of beer cans and broken boards appeared at my mailbox with a note. Keep your rednecks out. A community bulletin, and signed but clearly Susan's, labeled us a threat to safety, urging neighbors to avoid us. Locals stopped waving. Stores delayed my orders. Our name, once respected, was dirt. Henry wanted to fire up the dozer again. I stopped him. We need to be smarter. I hired Laura Bennett, a Missoula property lawyer with a reputation for shredding bad HOAs. Her office, above an old bakery, had a photo of her next to a bulldozer captioned, "Won that one too." I told her everything. She grinned. Easement fights are my favorite. Susan's case is built on hot air. Within days, Laura dug up our title history, GPS surveys, and affidavits from ranchers proving our road was gated in the 90s and 2000s, killing Susan's easement claim. She found gold. Susan had spent $62,000 of HOA funds on fences and guards without a vote, possibly embezzlement. A resident, Martha Cole, emailed Laura, exposing Susan's lies and providing a ledger showing assumed approval for expenses illegal under HOA rules. Laura filed a $1.2 million counterclaim for trespass, defamation, and business interference, plus an injunction to stop Pineview's surveillance. Susan's lawyers claimed community trauma and produced a hand-drawn map labeling our road historic access. Laura uncovered Susan's biggest mistake, a fake plat map submitted to the county, extending Pineview's jurisdiction onto our land. That's criminal, Laura said. At the first hearing, Judge Ellen Ramsey tore into Susan's team. Laura's evidence surveys, photos, Martha's affidavit, and financial records left them scrambling. The judge froze HOA spending, ordered Susan to testify, and hinted at criminal charges for fraud. Outside, Pineview residents called to apologize, saying they never supported Susan's war. At Susan's testimony, the courtroom buzzed. Reporters, residents, even the local donut shop owner showed up. Susan, in a crisp suit, tried to play victim, claiming she protected the community. Laura dismantled her, forcing admissions of unapproved spending and a forged map. Judge Ramsey's ruling was swift. Pineview owed us $975,000 for damages. Susan faced criminal referral for perjury and fraud, and the HOA was placed under county oversight. The fence came down the next day, cameras and signs scrapped. Susan was arrested 2 weeks later for misusing funds and falsifying records, facing 5 years in prison. Pineview's HOA dissolved, and residents voted to stay unincorporated. Some apologized. One offered to fix our gate. Henry declined. We built a new Gadia red-stained wooden arch with a sign. Built by Henry Harlan, 1979. Trespass at your peril. Henry drove the dozer one last time to smooth the road, then parked it for good. That night, by the fire pit, he said, "Land's not just dirt, Tom. It's who we are. Stand on it, or lose it." I nodded. They'd need an army to take it. The stars burned bright, and the coyotes howled. Our road was ours again. What do you think? Was Henry's bulldozer justice, or did it go too far? Have you faced injustice that pushed you to the edge? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'll want to hear your stand on violence, fairness, and fighting for what's yours.